Today we are going to talk about an updated PvE build for Tempest. You can use this build in Vanguard, dungeons, raids and terror rifts. It's a solid build with high damage output, and it's easy to play. The only thing you need to farm other than the required legendary items are the eternal affixes for Rolling Surf and Flowing Strike. But even without them, the build works well, so no need to stress. You also don't need a specific legendary gem setup, but there are some gems that significantly boost your damage output, which I'll share in the legendary gem section. Now let's start by explaining the build, beginning with the skills we are using. First, we have Rolling Surf with the new main hand essence called Skein Parter. This essence turns Tempest into something like a demon hunter by empowering your edges for 6 seconds, causing you and your Zephyr's primary attack to throw water daggers that return to you, dealing damage to enemies they hit. While active, each use of a skill or primary attack grants you an additional dagger up to a maximum of 8. Additionally, your movement speed increases by 35% and you ride a wave, allowing you to primary attack and move at the same time. The key here is that your Zephyrs throw these daggers too, so keeping them around is important. We easily solve that with our next skill, Flowing Strike. When you use this skill, it creates a Zephyr at your current location, and thanks to the Shoulder's essence, Flowing Strike conjures an additional Zephyr. This means you can create 2 with 1 click, and the third one usually spawns with your attacks. You can control up to 3 at once, so reaching that is easy with this build. If you have Eternal Gear for Flowing Strike, it grants a shield that absorbs damage for 3 seconds, which can be helpful in Vanguard mode and tougher raids. Next we have Crosswinds, our buff skill. With the offhand, Crosswinds empowers your edges with wind for 6 seconds, causing you and your Zephyr's primary attacks to unleash wind blades that deal damage. Thanks to the main hand, Crosswinds' critical hits cause 4 blades of wind to shatter off the target, damaging nearby enemies. Lastly we have Squall. This is great for mobility and provides important buffs. With the chest essence, Squall increases your damage by 8% for 5.7 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. The helmet essence marks enemies for 3 seconds before rupturing and slicing through them, dealing damage equal to 28.5% of the damage you dealt while marked. And as always, we use Wind Edge as our primary attack. When it comes to set items, there are 2 options, but 4 pieces of V2s are a must in both to increase the duration of all beneficial effects and give us the attack speed buff we need. For the other 4 pieces, you can go with Grace of the Flagellant or Gloomguide's Price. Both work well, but I get a bit more damage output with the 4-piece Grace set. Now let's go over each legendary item we're using. For the headpiece, we have Look Levered. Squall marks enemies for 3 seconds before rupturing and slicing through them, dealing damage equal to 28.5% of the damage dealt while marked. For the chest, we have Slippery Shell. Squall increases your damage by 8% for 5.7 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. For the shoulders, we use United Defiance. Flowing Strike conjures an additional Zephyr. For the pants, we have Windswept Promise. Zephyrs now increase your attack speed by 13.3% for each one you control. For the first main hand, we use Skein Parter. Rolling Surf empowers your edges, causing you and your Zephyr's primary attack to throw water daggers that return to you. Each use of a skill or primary attack grants an additional dagger. For the second main hand, we have Shriekword. Crosswind's critical hits cause 4 blades of wind to shatter off the target, dealing damage to nearby enemies. This can't occur more than once every 0.5 seconds. For the first offhand, we use Hurricane Hitch. Crosswinds empowers your edges with wind, causing you and your Zephyr's primary attacks to unleash wind blades. Lastly, for the second offhand, we use Maroji's Spine. Zephyr damage is increased by 28.5%. And that's all of the legendary items in this build. Now let's talk about Reforge bonuses and cursed properties. For Reforges, I am using 3 bonuses from the Vengeance family. The duration of beneficial effects and all skill damage increases on almost all of my legendary items. Since this is a primary attack based build, the Vengeance family attribute works well. For cursed properties, you can use 6 pieces of Lashed and 2 pieces of Atrophied. Now I'm going to list legendary gems from each quality so you can create your own setup based on your resources. From 1-star gems, you can use Berserker's Eye and Entropic Well. From 2-star gems, you can use Pain Clasp, Mother's Lament, and Bloody Reach. If you use Bloody Reach, make sure to keep some distance between you and your target to maximize the damage buff. From 5-star gems, you can use Blood-Soaked Jade, Bottled Hope, Gloom Cask, Roiling Consequence, and Wolfheart. As I mentioned earlier, you don't need to change your legendary gems specifically for this build, but I wanted to share the optimal ones for this setup. Finally, for Paragon, I'm using Slinger with Unseen Dynamism, Gifted, Bloodthirst, Fury, and Superiority. You can also use Lightning Rod from Legendary skills. I think that covers everything about this build. If you have suggestions or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thanks for tuning in and take care.